The ice raids continue from Chicago to Portland to Iowa, and a couple of news photographers F around and find out as they get a little too close to the action and get knocked on their asses. We'll cover it all coming up on this 10 Minutes of Truth.
You're listening to Barrett and Baxa. Real stories, raw takes, and the slow, strange death of traditional media.
Well, Operation Midway Blitz is well underway. That is the ICE operation, the name of the ICE operation in Chicago. And it's forcing an ICE detention facility right outside the city of Chicago to put up barricades in a town called Broadview, Illinois. They're actually putting up fences around their facility to keep these protesters out.
Right.
And one thing that I might point out, the media has already forgotten completely about the Dallas shooting that left an immigrant dead.
Yeah.
So,
what about that?
Yeah,
that was a 1 day. That was a 1 hour story. I mean, seriously.
The attack was on the ICE facility. I mean, they were trying to shoot ICE agents, or this person was trying to shoot ICE agents in that case, and ended up shooting 3 immigrants instead because there was a van full of immigrants sitting in the Sally Port.
He was a bad shot, and he wound up hitting the immigrants. But I'm not hearing any calls for gun control. Where are the gun? You know, whenever there's a school shooting, it's always about the gun control. It's never about the fact that schools are not guarded correctly. They're not guarded like we guard our money, or that like we guard freaking Six Flags. Six Flags is better guarded than most schools. Let's face it. And I'm hearing no calls for gun control. A guy went on a roof just after Charlie Kirk was shot by a guy on a roof. Here's another guy on a roof shooting into a van. He could have killed a bunch of cops. Instead, he killed what are the wrong people from his point of view. And again, written on the bullets, literally anti-ICE. It literally said anti-ICE.
And the media just ignored that, and they shifted right to all the protests in Chicago. So let's just forget about what happened in Dallas, and let's move on and say, oh, look, they're protesting in Chicago. And now, of course, the story's changing. It's all about Portland and how Trump is sending in some troops to help out in Portland. But let's get back to this Chicago thing, because we saw a report from an ABC station, the local ABC there in Chicago, that gives you a good sense of how the media can distort this so that it makes, one, ICE the aggressor, and two, the protesters the victims.
They're just innocent victims, and ICE is the bad guy of the story.
Things escalated very quickly here tonight when just before 8 o'clock, federal law enforcement agents launched several volleys of tear gas into the crowd of protesters that were gathered outside of the detention facility. Protesters have been here several times already, calling for an end to the immigration enforcement operation, now known as Midway Blitz. A cloud of tear gas enveloped the crowd gathered outside Broadview's detention facility tonight. And while a handful of fireworks were launched back in response, most ran from the fumes, some overcome by their toxicity, among them a Southside pastor.
Not just indiscriminate, but they are laughing as they pepper us with rubber bullets, with pepper balls. They are laughing, they are pointing, they are making a game of it, of assaulting citizens who are peacefully gathered to express our views.
Tensions have been building all day. Agents on the detention center's rooftop using what appear to be paintball guns to fire pepper spray pellets at protesters this morning who were attempting to stop vehicles from entering or exiting the facility. Several hours later, another confrontation. A woman blocking the gates, getting shot with the spray-laden pellets close up.
Where do we even start with this report? Okay, let me start with this, and then I'll let you, we'll take turns. I got to start right off the bat. The police are using non-lethal rounds. It hits you, if you've ever played paintball, you get hit by a paintball, you're going to have a little circular bruise, okay? When you get hit by a pepper ball, the ball is going to break open, pepper spray is going to go in your face, it's going to be unpleasant.
And then there's this comment about a handful of fireworks were fired at law enforcement. Well, fireworks are if fireworks blow up in your face, you're blind. You're severely injured. So they make light of it. This reporter, Michelle Gallardo, I think is her name, makes light of it like, oh, just a handful of fireworks were fired at these, which leads me to say, well, why Why do you think they're firing the pepper balls at these people? Why do you think they're throwing some tear gas out there to disperse the crowd? Why? Because they're shooting fireworks at the detention facility.
Correct. And let's remind our listeners of Martha Raddatz when she was interviewing J.D. Vance. And they were talking about Venezuelan gangs taking over apartment complexes in Aurora, Colorado. And Martha Raddatz said to J.D. Vance, it was only a handful of complexes. It wasn't the whole city. And J.D. Vance famously said, Martha, do you hear yourself? If I shoot a handful of bullets at police, like 3, let's say 4. I can hold 4 bullets in my hand. I shoot a handful of bullets at police. The police responded by shooting dozens of bullets back at me. Why such a disproportionate response? I only shot a handful of bullets at them.
So they put up a big fence around the area just in the last day or so. And now the city council in this town, this Broadview, Illinois, is complaining that they didn't get a permit to put up a fence around their facility to protect their people from these fireworks, so that they can't just shoot the fireworks right into the Sally Port, just like they were shooting bullets into the Sally Port in Dallas. So now, and you have Gavin Newsom saying, oh, we don't want you wearing masks. You cannot protect yourself. We need to know who you are, where you live, who your family is, where you grocery shop, so that we can assault you wherever we deem appropriate to assault you. It's gotten ridiculous. There are a couple more examples of this whole anti-ICE thing. There's uproar in Des Moines, Iowa, because their superintendent, it turns out, is a criminal, illegal immigrant. How does that happen?
And that's what our friend Bob Jordan asked on his Facebook page. And my answer there is the same as my answer here. We all know how it happened. The guy is black.
DEI.
It's DEI. The guy is black. It's probably the school board that hires the superintendent. And they are almost certainly far left or somewhat left. And they saw that this guy was black. He did have educational qualifications, and boom, that's it. That's the only thing they needed to know.
Here's another headline that kind of points in the same direction, this anti-ICE sentiment by the media.
Yes, this is a good one.
News. Yeah, NBC News. ICE held 5-year-old autistic girl in Massachusetts to pressure father to surrender, family says.
Yes. All right. So if you look at that headline, this is what based on that headline. So ICE went to like a school where this, like a kindergarten, okay? They saw this girl, all right? They swooped in, they grabbed her. Then they took her in their police car. They went to this guy's house and they said, Jesus Gomez, we have your daughter in the car. If you don't come out immediately, we are holding your daughter unless you come out immediately.
So, Bob, that's what
not
happened?
what happened. As it turns out, that's not what happened. Isn't that weird that the headline would be totally misleading?
Wrong?
Yeah. No, it turns out that's not what happened. So
what did happen?
What actually happened is that this guy was running from ICE with his daughter. So this guy is committing a felony with his 5-year-old daughter in the car. He abandons the girl and takes off, and really, the ICE agents saved the girl and were protecting the girl. She was left alone while her father committed multiple felonies against law enforcement. And even NBC News was forced to then go back in and correct the headline. But, the damage had been done. People had seen it.
NBC, why can't you say, immigrant abandons 5-year-old daughter, leaves her alone with ICE agents who protect her? All right, last thing for this episode. A couple of journalists got photojournalists. That's what you call somebody that carries the camera around. They got knocked on their butts trying to get close-up shots of ICE agents as they take some illegal immigrants or something into an elevator. Here's CNN's reaction to it. They were appalled by it.
Of course. What else would they be?
And it is these clashes in particular that have really set off a firestorm. And yesterday what occurred is that a journalist was shoved down. This after an immigrant was shoved last week. According to the Department of Homeland Security, ICE agents were in the process of arresting an immigrant, and they say that this journalist got in the way.
I was a photojournalist for like 10 years in my career, and I was always out in the field. And let me tell you something. If you're trying to get that close to the action, guess what happens? You're going to get knocked on your ass. It's part of the job.
And if you push your camera right in the guy's face, you should get knocked on your ass. So I'm glad
you see this guy's trying to get in the elevator. These are people trying to get in the elevator with the ICE agents. Come on.
Yeah, come on,
You
dude.
can't do that.
No. So this guy got what he deserved. I'm happy it happened, and hopefully it'll happen again.
And it looks like he kind of threw himself to the ground and sort of faked it a little bit.
And then he had a collar on.
It looked like
it's totally fake. He reminds
what do you call
me
that
of Teddy,
in sports?
Like
when you
flopping.
flop?
He flopped. He
It
flopped.
looks like he
yes.
flopped a little bit on that one, too. That's what you're going to get on your 10 minutes of truth every time with Barrett and Baxa.
Well, that's it for this episode of Barrett and Baxa. Like, subscribe, and do all that other stuff podcasts want you to do.